But I watched your first episode that you did with us.
Okay.
And I found it to be very inspiring because one of the things that you mentioned, of course, one of the things that you mentioned was that you are one of the few, as a matter of fact, 2% of Latina women that has become a lawyer.
Right.
And I just thought that was so huge because I do understand that, you know, Latina women, they have to go through a lot, especially when they're first generation.
Right.
Right. And as a girl growing up, the first thing that I wanted to ask you was, what was your journey? Like, you shared about how you came from Mexico when you were a baby, when you were a little girl, and you were helping in the field from the beginning.
Right.
But I want to know, how did you move on from there? It was so sad to hear when you moved here, you learned that you were poor.
Right.
Yeah.
So in Mexico, I believe that I had a beautiful life, right? Away from society. We live in the outskirts, no TV, no radio. It was just us, right? We were present. I would play with my brothers. I was the youngest of 6. I would play with my cousins. We played in the dirt. We had dogs. I mean, it was just so like organic and beautiful, right? So I didn't know we were poor until we came to the US and I saw the different type of classes and all these beautiful homes that I didn't even know existed. So I lived in my own little bubble, right? So now with your question as to how did I do it, it was very difficult. I believe that I had every factor against me not to accomplish what I've had, and I overcame all that. The first thing that I encountered when I went to college was to learn that I was not all that. So when I graduated from CB High School here from Coachella Valley, I was valedictorian. I was top in my class. So you go in thinking you're all that in a bag of chips. And then you go to a different world, a world that we've never experienced. You go to college where your professors are seen in a screen because it's 400, 500 students at the time, versus here you're at 20 to 30 students at most, right?
Right.
So then you find out that people there don't look like you. They don't dress like you. They don't speak like you. So you're different. You're right away, you realize that you're different again. Then when you're testing, you realize that those tests are not formulated to help you or advance you, right? It's another hurdle. So the very first quarter, I learned that I was not prepared to be in college. So me being an A student here didn't mean anything in college. I was not ready for college. I lacked the grammar skills. I lacked the English. I just lacked the skills, period. I was in a scholarship. I couldn't afford to have below, I believe it was a 3.7 or a 3.8, which is kind of like an A minus, right?
That's so high.
Yeah, it's ridiculously high, but I had a full ride. And those were the conditions, right? I needed that percentage or the GPA. So right away, I knew that my dream was in jeopardy. So I went to go see my counselor in tears because I had gotten like a C minus in my first paper, my first quarter, my first midterm. And never in my life had I received a C because I was always an overachiever.
Yeah. After you share this, I want to know about what made you an overachiever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know exactly what it is. So when I went to go talk to my counselor, I was like, I've never gotten a C minus, right? I mean, or a C plus, whatever it was. I think it was a C minus. And I talked to my professor. My professor was like, Hilda, you need to go and get English as a second language. You need classes if you want to survive college. Your grammar is horrible. You don't know how to write. And I was like, oh, it was like heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So when I did that, my counselor was like, you're not going to be able to survive your scholarship if you continue that path. So I went through a lot of changes, even taking English as a second language at UC Davis. And then when I went to my classes, English as a second language, they were like, no, you're too advanced to be in English as a second language. But yet I wasn't good enough to be in regular classes. So I was kind of like in the middle, but I had great professors that were able to walk me. So every quarter I was taking like 20 plus units. because it was like my 12 units or 14 units regular classes, and then everything else that I needed to be mentored on, which was English as a second language. And I did that on my own. I did that without any advisement, without any guidance from my family, because nobody had gone that path, right? To top that off is I had no money. My scholarship just covered my room and board. It covered my books, my tuition, but it didn't cover my personal expenses. So whatever else I wanted to buy, I needed money, and my family couldn't help me. And I knew that I didn't want to put the pressure on them, because they would send me, my mom would send me like $200 a month or every time she would get paid. And that was just not enough. So I worked helping other people do their homework.
Like a tutor?
As a tutor, right? Obviously, I had a tutor, and the tutor helped me, and then I helped others, and the tutor helped them. It was all like a cycle.
What kind of tutor were you?
It was so we did political science, right? All the classes that I had, I would take notes for them, and I will sell my notes. I will do their paperwork. There were times where I would do like their essays for them, and then I would have my tutor help me grade them and redo them. It was a cycle. It was all a cycle, but I got paid to do that. And then on the weekends, I will go to the neighbors, and I will help them clean mow their lawns and clean their garden, and I would get paid for that. And then also at UC Davis, they had an equestrian center, and I would go and I will help them clean the horses and clean the stables, and that's how I would get money.
Oh my gosh, you were nonstop.
Yes, because I was so afraid to not be able to make it, and I knew that if I were to lose that scholarship, there was no way for me to ever become an attorney and reach my goal.
Oh my gosh.
So that was just one of the many hurdles and obstacles that I had to go to.
Yeah.
And again, hitting the reality check that my English wasn't good enough, that I was not ready to be at a college level, and all this, it wasn't like a dream, but it was just like misconception that we believe we were good enough at the high school that I came from. And then when you do the transfer, you realize that it's a different world, a world that you've never been exposed to, right?
Extremely cutthroat, especially you said that you're the youngest of 6.
Correct.
And I'm sure that, typically within Latino families, they're very family oriented. There's a huge loving family dynamic.
Right.
And so when you get out there and you're exposed to something completely different, you're like, this is not what I expected, right? And it's cutthroat.
Correct. Yeah. And then it also comes with the guilt, right? Like, to me, I feel very responsible and guilty for leaving my family, guilty for wanting to educate myself because nobody had ever done it before. And I saw it more of a luxury, right? Like, this is, it's a luxury for me to go to school, have an education, because nobody else had done that or gone that path. So I needed to excel. I put the pressure on me where, like, I'm not leaving my home in vain. I'm going to ace this. I'm going to be valedictorian. I'm just not only going to pass, but I'm going to excel. And I believe that it becomes like a trauma response.
Yeah.
Right? Where, like, you need to do all this stuff to be able to find validation from your family. And also, I think it's a trauma response where you're so afraid of losing your dream that you overdo it. Right. And that's exactly what I did.
Right. That is resonating with me so much right now, because you're right. You just shared that you probably had to fight and justify why you wanted to go to school and not contribute and go to work and bring food to the table with your family.
Correct.
Right. And so that can be so tough. And then now I understand, because I asked you earlier, why did you become such an overachiever? Well, I totally understand that it's because of that, where you had to become valedictorian, you had to prove your mettle and show your worth, and come back to the family and say, look, there's a reason why I'm doing this. This is the way that I'm going to contribute. And at the end of the day, the goal is for me to be able to make so much more.
Right.
So I could help the family.
Correct.
And so do you feel like now, Do you feel like your parents understand? Do you feel like they are proud of you? How does you as being the youngest, how does your family see you?
Oh yeah, I've completely, yes, they're very, very, very proud of me. And I think we've broken generational traumas of thinking and having limited beliefs that we cannot do this, right? Mm-hmm. In my family, we saw the profession of being a doctor or being a lawyer unreachable, right? Like the max, right? Where we believe deep inside that it was not possible for us, right? So when I go, leave, sacrifice and do everything and come back, I believe that we break those barriers, we break those limited beliefs, and we show like, look, it's possible. I did it, right? Everybody's super, super proud. But it doesn't stop being the trauma response. Right? Because I could have become an attorney a lot easier. I didn't have to make my life so miserable. And I overdid it. You know, I was also valedictorian at the university that I graduated from.
You were?
I was at UC Davis, despite all the hurdles that I had to overcome. I went to law school and I was valedictorian from my law school.
What?
So I didn't have to do all that. I could have just graduated and have fun, and I didn't. And the reason why I didn't was because I couldn't jeopardize my dream. And it was I was not only doing it for myself, I was doing it for my entire family. I was doing it for all my generations from the past, my ancestors that, especially females, were never educated. My father never learned how to read and write. Right. So I had to break that limited belief. I had to break that trauma, generational trauma. And I had to lean on and like formulate a new path for my new generations to come. Now, most of my nephews and cousins are all college graduates, you know, and I was the first one in the family. Yeah.
You spearheaded that.
Yes.
How did that
I believe I did. It's a wonderful feeling. But I don't think it's about me.
Right.
I think it's about all of us, right? As a collective, about being united and about just showing the world that no matter where you come from and no matter what your past is, what matters is what you determine that your present and your future is going to be. It's definitely on us.
Yeah, you definitely, because it seems like you're very family and very community oriented. You definitely are leaving quite a legacy and making such a big impact, even outside of your family. You know, I think Naja shared with you that, I don't know if you know her, but Maribel.
Yes.
You do know her.
Yes.
So I was like, I don't know if you know her, but Maribel knows you.
Yes.
And, you know, Maribel, she is my employee at Spotlight 29. So I work at the casino in Coachella right now. And, I remember she came up to me one day and she was like, you know Hilda Zamora? And I was like, no, I don't know who she is. And she's like, well, she's in your podcast. Like she's in, and I was like, oh, and so that's when I texted Naja. And Naja was like, yes, we just recently did an episode with Hilda. And Maribel came to me. She was like, Maribel was like, Hilda is so inspiring. You know, she is known in this community for being a fighter for the people. And I was like, wow, really? I was learning about you. And she was telling me that that your parents, I think, used to work at Spotlight 29. That is correct. And can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes. So my parents worked in the fields all their lives, most of their lives. As they got older, and the casinos came into the Coachella Valley, they went into a casino to work in the casinos because at least they were not out in the high temperatures of the desert, right? So both my mom and my dad and my siblings, 3 of my siblings work in the casinos for like 20 something years. And my parents didn't retire until like during COVID, like 5-6 years. And unfortunately, 5 years ago, we lost my father due to COVID. And that was my opportunity to convince my mom to stop working, right? Again, they have to work because I believe it's a generational believe that they feel that you have to exhaust yourself in work in order to be able to deserve or in order to be able to earn it, right? And that's what they teach the kids. And that's what I was told, right? Like, I have to work really, really hard to earn things. So yes, they work in the casinos, very hard workers. They know my mom stays home now and doesn't work there, but it's really flattering to me when I just shared that about Maribel, and it's very flattering to me when my community sees what I've done, what I've accomplished, because I've always said it's not just my personal accomplishment. I think that it's an entire community accomplishment, because again, being raised in Mexico or in the Coachella Valley, we have a lot of limitations. So when we break those barriers and we're creating a legacy and we're getting to places that nobody has been there before, right? It's creating an impact for our community at large. And I think it tells our little ones that it's possible, that you can do it, that your dreams are never too big for you if you really have the passion in your heart to.
And you're a relatable example. You are you're first generation Latina, right? You're living in the Coachella Valley.
Right.
You come from Mexico.
Right.
And so many people in that area, that's where they're from. Right. That's who they are. And so they're not seeing somebody in Hollywood or in LA. They're seeing somebody that with their roots right there planted.
Exactly. I talk a lot to like middle schoolers, high school students, where I get invited to speak to them about my story. And I remember very vividly one example of, he was probably 9 or 10 years old. I think they were 3rd or 4th grade. And I went to Oasis in like near Mecca area, east of the Coachella Valley. And I believe it was in Toro Canyon Middle School that I went to go speak. And I wanted to hear about their goals, what their goals were, what they wanted to be when they grew up. And one little boy told me that seeing me become an attorney was something that gave him hopes that he would one day become a doctor, because he always believed, and this is exactly what his words were. He said, I never thought that people like us could become somebody like you. And that just broke my heart. I'm like, well, what does that mean, right? What does that mean to you? So what he meant was that he was always told by his parents that people that work in the fields, people that come from Mexico, blue collar, could never become professionals. So they were told that since they were very little. So their parents would want them to work in the fields with them, to do the work that they did, exactly like my parents did, right? And they didn't encourage an education because to them, they had no future. And I said, love your parents, respect your parents, but they're wrong. My father had the same mentality, right? Like, you're never going to amount to anything. We're always going to be blue collar. Before, it used to break my heart. Not anymore, because I understand that somebody cannot teach you something that they were never taught.
Exactly.
Right? So I shared that with this little boy, and I said, I remember giving him my card and my cell phone number for him to text me or call me, and I wanted to make myself available to him. And I said, nobody can stop you from dreaming or becoming who you want to be. Only you. Only you. And the example that I gave him was that sometimes our words can be hurtful, although we don't intend for our words to be hurtful. But I said, every time people speak to you, right, it's kind of like they put a little seed on your brain.
Yes.
Right? They put a little seed, and that seed can be good or it can be bad.
Yeah.
But this is your garden, right? And you determine what's going to bloom and what isn't. So every time something negative and you don't like it, reject it. That's not a seed that you want in your garden. Every time something's positive, water it and make sure that blooms. And he's like, I like that example. So, but it really breaks my heart how even now, with all this social media that we have, with all this internet and availability and resources, we still have the limited belief that we limit our children to what their potential can be. But I believe in the Coachella Valley, we have the future president, the future vice president, the politician. We have everything we want to be. It's just a matter of us believing that we do.
Yeah. I love that you're sharing that, because it is, yes, you're right. People will say things to us all the time, but it's all about our self-talk, what we internalize.
Right.
And so for you, who were your mentors? Like, what made you so different? And I don't think that it was just your internal self-talk. I think that you must have had some sort of example maybe, or some sort of mentor, or somebody that you looked up to and aspired to be like. Was there anything like that?
I actually have it's a great question. Thank you for asking that. I actually have a very unique answer for you. And even now I keep going back. I never really had a mentor because nobody had ever gone that path, right? And again, I don't think your parents can teach you something that were never taught. I think at first, like what got me from high school to like college was a trauma response.
Okay.
I was so afraid of doing the hard work that my parents were doing on a daily basis. And I didn't want it to be poor. And I didn't want it to work in the fields from sunrise to sunset. I every single day I would see my parents come home and they were dirty. Their hands were chapped and dirty of the hard work that they did. And we only had enough to eat, right?
Yeah.
We never really had any luxuries of anything, of any sort, and very limited. And I didn't want the lifestyle. I wanted more. And I was okay with wanting more, right? When I get into my master's program, I met this professor that had started to open my mind as to my potential. Throughout those years, there were a lot of insecurities inside of me. I don't think I was so sure that I had what it would take, the skills, the intelligence, the ability to be able to become an attorney. But my fear of being poor and my fear of working in the fields and just not changing our story and not having a legacy in my family was what kept me to push and push because I wanted more. Then when I get to law school, I had this professor, Dr. Lawrence. We lost him in our third year of law school to cancer, but he was not only like a father figure for me, but he was a mentor. Wow. He was the very, very first person that opened my mind or introduced me to mindset and introduced me to the fact that I was a creator and that I could accomplish anything that I wanted. This whole time I was thinking that was my destiny and I was just trying to accept and fight the destiny and have more. But he introduced me to books that opened my mind. It made me change my trajectory as to, I'm my own designer of my life. I'm my own creator. And this is what my life's going to look like moving forward. And nothing could deviate me from that anymore. I was unstoppable. So Dr. Lawrence was really an inspiration and a mentor to me. And then my dreams became bigger and bigger because I wanted to be able to have the financial means to be able to go back to my family and give them experiences that we've never had. You know, the nice house, the nice cars, the nice vacations, the nice parties. Because yes, I'm very family oriented, but I wanted them, especially my mom, I wanted to compensate for her sacrifice. And I wanted to show her that we made it and that it was worth it. But it was all about mindset. I learned that instead of reacting and overworking based on traumas, right? I began to change it around and accept the fact that I deserve what I had.
Yes.
Versus feeling guilty of having something different than the rest of your family didn't have.
Wow. So let me ask you, do you feel that you've made it? And are you still afraid of ever losing it all?
I think that being an overachiever, like I've always been, is not something that goes away overnight. I think it's like a daily process with meditation, mindset work, and continuing to grow. I think when you go through all the trauma that I went through, you kind of become addicted to growth and expansion, and it's never enough. So you kind of have to slow down and stop yourself like, hey, be grateful for what I have now and have additional dreams. Yes, I feel I've made it because I've created, I've accomplished things that nobody in my family has done, like education. Nobody can ever take my education away. I have a doctorate in law. Nobody in my family has had a doctorate in law, right? So that to me is huge. Being an amazing attorney, having the trajectory of wins that I have, it's another plus, right? Having the financial means that I have now, it's another plus. Do I feel I have arrived where I want to go? No, because I think I'm always going to be that overachiever where I want more. But the reason that I want more, it's no longer for my ego or no longer for validation. It's for growth. Like my plans for the future is I want to contribute more to my community and to the world at large. And I need the financial means to be able to do that, right? I can't do it without, no matter how good I am and anything, I need the money to be able to do those transformations that I want to do. So yes, I feel like I've made it, but at the same time as I'm not where I want to be. Yet.
You're close, but you're almost there.
Right.
So how you said you want to contribute to the community, and I think that's a beautiful thing. There's so many things that you could do within the community. How do you want to contribute to the community? What do you see yourself doing?
I have several goals. One of the goals that I want to do and have always envisioned is building a university. But not a university where they domesticate you to be an employee. Not that there's anything wrong with that, right? But I want a university where it focuses a lot on mindset and it focuses a lot on growth, because I think that if we focus on our mindset, we're unstoppable. We are our best friends or our worst enemies.
Yes.
And I think I had to go through a lot of unnecessary exhaustion to be able to get where I'm at if my mindset would have been different, because I operated just out of fear and out of I just needed to feel safe, right? I needed to protect myself versus focusing on mindset and growing, right? For example, I was taught that I have to work really, really hard to be able to have something. Not necessarily true, right? I can have a business that generates money without me working 24/7. But that's what I was taught, right? I was taught that in order for you to be able to be successful, you have to earn certain things. I just think our beliefs were a lot of limited beliefs that I want to change that. Having a university that we can teach our youth since the beginning of how to focus on personal growth and development and not having the traditional education that we have now will help us become better humans and better parents and better just humans overall. So I want to do that, and I want to be able to make it accessible to first generations or second generations, people that are becoming the pioneers of their families or the trailblazers of their generations. I want to do that. I need money to be able to do that. Another thing that really impacts me a lot and triggers me a lot is stray dogs in our community. The county at times cannot just feed all these stray dogs and they end up putting them down. I don't want that. I want to be able to create a sanctuary where all the dogs are welcome and we can feed them all. Why do that on weekends? That's a different story. But those are the type of goals that I think I want to bring back to my community and be able to help us grow.
Wow, that is, in my head, I'm thinking that is a beautiful goal. And I wonder, just because you are such an overachiever and I feel like you're very strategic, is there anything that you're already doing to sort of, steps towards the university goal?
So far I haven't started anything yet. I've been focusing a lot on my personal development. I think I have to walk my talk, right? I still have a lot of things that I have to make it believable, right? There's times where on my subconscious level, I still have that doubt, like who am I to create a university, right? and then
You're
that needs to
Hilda
go
freaking
away.
Zamora,
Right.
who you are.
Thank you. And I have to remind myself daily on that, right? Because growing up from humble beginnings is not something that, like, again, that you forget overnight. So sometimes, right, my own mind betrays me and I doubt that project. And I can't do that. I need to be ready. So I have been mentally preparing myself with attending mentorship on a daily basis. Every single day from 7 to 8 or 8:30, however long it takes, I'm talking to my mentors. I have 4 different mentors now that I've been talking to them for approximately 3 years now. I'm part of this amazing organization that is called How to Manage a Small Law Firm. And within that organization, they mentor us in its personal development and growth. And I've been working side by side with my mentors regarding me building the mindset necessary to be able to make that big step.
That's incredible. Mentorship is so important. And it's also really hard to ask for.
Right.
Right. So, because you can't just go to somebody and be like, excuse me, will you be my mentor? Right. So I just think that that's very admirable that you've been able to find a community and find that mentorship for yourself.
Yes. But yeah, so far, nothing in paper yet. It's still in my vision board. It's still something that I'm going to accomplish. Just a matter of when.
Okay. I love it. Thank you so much. I want to pivot a little bit because you talked about equestrianship. You've talked about how you love dogs. So I want to touch on what is it that you do for yourself for pleasure? Because you're a go woman.
Yes.
What do you do to calm down? What do you do for yourself?
I definitely have to slow down, right? I think the minute I put on my CEO hat or my lawyer hat, I'm like 1,000 miles an hour. And that's also not good. And it's also not healthy. So what I like to do is I like to slow down. I love to read. I love to read personal development books. I like quiet time with my dog. I have a dog. His name is Justice. Justice. He's a Pomeranian Poodle mix. He's adorable. I've had him for 14 years. He took the bar with me, so I call him Justice.
You know, this makes you think of the movie Legally Blonde.
Right.
I feel like you're like a Latina version of Legally Blonde.
Oh, totally. I have Justice everywhere. So, and I like the quiet time, and I feed stray dogs. I go to the east side of the Coachella Valley. On 70th Street, is like a trailer park. Is owned by the tribe, and people just go there and dump their dogs, and they don't feed them. And it's impossible to feed them all. It's like 150 dogs. But a group of a team of us have around the community have spread the word, and we're taking turns, and we go and we feed them. I go there with my niece, I go there with my mom, I go there with my husband, and we just feed all these dogs. They know you're there to help them, so the minute they see the cars, they know you're going to feed them. And I do that on the weekends. I have a great story. On one of the weekends that I came across a horse. And the horse was not properly taken care of. The horse was being tied to a post, and it was sunny. It was hot. He had no food or water. So my niece and I approached the owners, and the owners were not very content. They asked us to leave their premises multiple times. We kept on coming back. We involved other groups that defend animals from the Coachella Valley, and we're trying to get the horse. Eventually, I was able to make contact with the owner, and I was so blessed that she agreed for me to buy the horse so I can donate it and rescue it to the Coachella Valley Rescue, horse rescue in the Coachella Valley, and we were able to do that. So that to me like brightens my soul, and it feeds my soul that we were able to do that. So that's what I do. I live homeless on the weekends. I'm full of dog hair, and I rescue horses. That's what I do.
That's beautiful. That's
Thank
beautiful. You shared that you're married.
Yes.
You know, I have to say, I'm a hopeless romantic, Hilda. Can you tell me that story? How did you guys meet? I want to know all of the details.
Oh my gosh, I am so blessed. I have an amazing, amazing husband. And I have a great story. Let me start from the beginning. I always believed that I would never marry.
Really?
Yes. not surprisingly, I was a divorce attorney for 14 years.
Okay.
All I did was divorce people. And that just vouched my belief that marriage was not good.
Yeah.
Going back to my generations, every generation of mine is a divorcee generation. My great-grandparents, my grandparents, my parents ended up separated. They never divorced because of what people were going to say, but they were separated, right? Mm-hmm. So I grew up thinking marriages were not good. Yeah. And everything always vanished and it would always end. And I believed that marriages were bad and marriages were just an anchor and that you couldn't fly and you couldn't become a professional if you were married. Mm-hmm. So I focused a lot. I was very career driven. And I was like, no. Like, no marriages, no. And in my practice, I saw that every single day, right? I saw people that had been married for 20, 30, 40 years, and they were filing for divorce. So that only validated my belief that everything always ended. Yeah. It wasn't until I met my husband, former military. He had a previous marriage. When I met him in our first date, there was something about him that I had never seen before. Mm-hmm. And it was that love for life, for family, but overall for second chances, right? And I was like, this guy's weird. Why is he
so weird?
Yeah, like, why is he so happy, right? Like, no. My husband was very, very different upbringings. He comes from a lot of love, from a lot of, we come from two different paths. I come from a lot of dysfunction. Mm-hmm. I come from a lot of violence, from a lot of dysfunction. Mm-hmm. He comes from a lot of love, right? His parents, he lost his father in a car accident like 10, 12 years before I met him. Mm-hmm. And they're still so close and united with his brothers. And it was just so mesmerizing for me to see the love that they had for each other and the support that they had. Although I believe that we grew up very united, we fell apart, as we grew older, and I just didn't experience what he had. Mm-hmm. So when I met him, I knew right away. The very, very first date, I was like looking at him and I was like, I would totally marry this guy. Like, I would marry this guy. Really? And then I'm thinking like, okay, that kind of is weird. Like, this is date number one and I want to marry this guy. There was something different about him. So we dated for a year. We got engaged. We were engaged for another year and then we got married. So within like 2-3 years, we were married. And that was a whole different, I want to say, roller coaster in my life, because when you're hyper independent, like I was hyper independent. And when you operate that you're constantly just protecting yourself, and you marry somebody that it's all love and everything's fine, everything's understanding, it's kind of weird to you, right? Like, what's wrong with this guy? Why is he bringing me flowers? What did he do?
What did he do
What did he do wrong this time? Right? Because you're always hyper vigilant, right? Because you're so used to just protecting yourself all this time, and you're operating out of trauma of like, I grew up thinking and knowing like nobody's going to come to save me. Mm-hmm. It's on me. Yeah. I have to save myself, right? Nobody's here to save me, and nobody did. Nobody was there to save me. Not my dad, not my mom, not my siblings. I was on my own. Mm-hmm. They were lovable to a certain extent, but not as supportive or the support that I needed, right? Mm-hmm. I was on my own. So when my husband comes into my life and he's showering me with flowers and gifts and roses, I'm thinking like, what is this guy hiding? Why is he so nice?
I need to see the skeletons in the closet.
Yes, like I need to dig deeper. And I needed to work with that, right? And understand that there is different type of loves. There is true love, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? And it doesn't make me less of a warrior. It doesn't make me less of an attorney or less of a female, right? Or useless, because I was like, I can open my own door. I can do my own stuff. Like, you don't need to pay for my stuff, right? And he taught me how to like slow down, how to receive. Most importantly, I didn't know how to receive. All that I knew was give, because in return, I was looking for that validation, for that love. So I gave just to feel love. When my husband gives me, right, it's different because I've never received, and not to that extent that he showered me with attention, with love, with comprehension, with support, with admiration. And I was like, this guy is a weirdo. This guy is weird, right? Different response.
Yes.
But I'm blessed to have the relationship that I have with him. He's my biggest cheerleader. Aww. He's there when I'm like, I take off my armor of a warrior and I just want to be a little girl and I just want to be cuddled and listened to, and he's there.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes the trauma comes in and I'm like, why are you still here? And sometimes your own trauma, if you don't slow down and catch yourself, you can run away from something that beautiful because your subconscious doesn't understand it.
That is so wise. So wise and so beautiful. So you said that you went on your first date. How did you meet him in the first place?
Okay, so surprisingly, we knew each other from high school. But we had like similar friends or the same friends, but I don't remember him from high school and he doesn't remember me from high school. And we joke about it now because he remembers like my best friend and all my friends, but he doesn't remember me. I don't remember him. And we played soccer together, and I will always tell him, I'm like, yeah, the reason why was because I was a nerd and like I was invisible. So sure enough, I was invisible to you as well. And we don't remember each other, but how we met was he's a contractor and he's been a business owner, very successful business owner, along with his brother. And when I was a bail agent prior to me becoming an attorney, he used to bail out his workers. He used to go, and if they were in trouble or something and be incarcerated, he would go and bail them out. So he would go through me, right? So we had that communication about after high school, blah, blah, blah. And then when I became an attorney, he would come over and get advice about his business, about how to move forward. And that's how we met. Again, I guess, right? And then again. And then he asked me out on a date. And it was so funny because this is a funny story. He loves boxing. So he invited me to a boxing match in LA. The last time that I went to a boxing match, it was like in Vegas, and you get all dolled up in heels and cocktail dress. So that's what I thought we're supposed to go, right? So he didn't tell me anything. So he picks me up and he has a driver and we're going to the boxing match. And I'm wearing heels and a cocktail dress. And he's like, okay, he doesn't tell me anything. We go and it's like downtown LA. It's not a good area. It's like a very like small boxing match. Everybody's wearing sweats and like jeans and a cap.
And you're in a dress.
Yeah, and I'm thinking I'm looking like the ring girl. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, why didn't you tell me? He's like, you look beautiful. And I just figured that's the way you dress. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So as we're going through security, the security guard, she's like, man, girl, you're looking sharp. And I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to be wearing this, huh? And she's like, you look great. But I was wearing like a red cocktail dress and heels. It was so uncomfortable. But we went to a boxing match. And then there we met some of his friends, and it was like we double dated. It was fine, but it was just very relaxed. I saw how humble he was. I learned stories of what a great boss he was and what a great friend he was. I learned after high school he had left to the military, and then it was very different and unique first date, but it was so like. I just knew that we were soulmates, and I knew that we had so many things in common. And I loved the fact that he was so caring and polite and a gentleman, and he was just different. And I loved that difference. Yeah.
It's so beautiful to see how your face like radiates with love. It's so cute. How long have you been together now?
So we've been together for 11 years. We've been married for 9.
Okay.
Yes, 9.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm going to need to know your anniversary so I can send you both flowers.
Appreciate it. Yes. We got married February the 9th, and it's been amazing. Again, it's been a journey, right? He has 2 kids. He has a 22-year-old now and an 18-year-old, and we have no kids together. We have Justice. Justice adores him, and he adores Justice. But again, right? I was very career driven, and having a family to me was scary.
I have one last question. And this is a very selfish question.
Go for it.
Okay, as you were talking in your episodes, you said something that I was like, she is so amazing. Can she be my mentor? Because you were speaking about how oftentimes when you would go out and you would do your lawyering thing, you would get underestimated.
Right.
And they did not realize until you were actually in it,
right,
that you were a trial lawyer before. Right. And so it's so hard for anybody to beat you.
Right.
With that said, what are some tips that you could give us? And maybe not as lawyers, because I'm not a lawyer, but what are some tips that you could give to women like me to help with that confidence, to help with that knowledge, that as you're out there defending your client, having that belief in yourself that you're going to win that case?
Absolutely. I have always believed that discipline outperforms like talent, right? You can be super talented, but if you're not disciplined in what you do, you're not going to make it. And what I think that nobody can take away from me is my discipline and my work ethic that I have. I will discipline myself to study the case as long as necessary to be able to know the facts better than my opponent, the law better than my opponent, where they cannot beat me because I'm overprepared. I'm always going to be overprepared. So the tip that I can give you is, number 1, you have to work on your confidence. And stop worrying about what people are going to think of you, and stop waiting for others' validation. It's not coming. Nobody is coming to save you. You're your own savior. You're your own creator. So the tip that I can give you the most is you need to work on self-love. If you learn to love yourself, the confidence will come. If you have that confidence, you are unstoppable. Because if you don't have the confidence, and people are mean, people are judgmental, people are going to judge you by the way you speak, by the way you look, right? So the minute I speak, they judge me about my accent. They correlate, if you're an accident, you must be stupid. If you have an accent, you're not that bright. Instead of thinking, wow, if she has an accent, obviously, right? This is her second language. So instead of admiring that you're managed to be bilingual, no, they're criticizing you for that, right?
Yeah.
But then it has to be your confidence where you put on that armor. You're like, okay, that's their opinion. And it's not about me, it's about them. It's not about my insecurities, it's about their insecurities. Nothing can stop you because your discipline has gotten you to that door. Your discipline had gotten you to that seat and that table. And then you just show them what you got, baby. You just show them what you got. After that, they don't have to like you. They just have to respect you.
Yeah.
And that's my objective every single day. People don't have to like me, but they will respect me because I will have earned that respect through my discipline and hard work. And that's what I can tell you. But if we focus on our ego, of the need of being loved, of the need of being accepted, we are cutting ourselves short. Cutting ourselves short. You don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be a nurse. You don't have to have a profession. But just whatever it is that you do, be the best at it. If you're a dishwasher, be the best dishwasher out there. If you're a janitor, be the best janitor out there. And those are my tips that I can give you.
I love it. You talked about self-love. How did you learn that? What are some tools that you used or some books that you read when it came to self-love?
Self-love is very difficult for, I think, a lot of women in general, but especially Latinas, because we are domesticated and trained to put others before us. And that's what makes us a good sister, a good wife, a good mother, right? Put everybody else before us. And at the end of the day, we end up carrying the entire world on our shoulders. Yeah. And nobody acknowledges us and nobody sees how exhausted we are until we lose it.
Right.
Okay. So self-love is about taking time to yourself and doing what you like doing best. Okay, not what you think your mom wants you to do or your husband wants you to do. And it's not about being a feminist. Okay, it's about loving and respecting your choice and what lights you up, what turns you on, right? And having that courage to do it when people may not agree with you.
Right.
So I don't remember a specific book, but all the books that I've been reading, like The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, right? I read The Power of Ted, where it talks about dysfunctions, growing up in dysfunctions, and how you can leaving victimhood, where a lot of us live in victimhood, right? Being a creator, being a coach versus a prosecutor, a savior that we're trying to save the world, and we forget about saving ourselves. But just to me, and self-love comes in different ways, right? Self-love to some people is buying stuff. Some self-love to people is going to a spa and taking care of themselves. Self-love to them sometimes is generating money. There's many definitions of what self-love is, but it's whatever talks to your soul and whatever talks to your heart. To me, self-love is relaxing, reading, growing, investing in me, feeding those dogs, rescuing those horses. That to me is self-love. But most importantly, self-love to me is putting myself first. And I haven't done that. I didn't do that for years. There's times where I forget that. It's a daily ritual, right? But always put yourself first.
Wow. Mic drop. So with that said, Hilda, thank you so much for your time here today. This has been such an honor to just spend some time with you. I can't wait. And I have more questions for you, but it's going to have to wait for a different time. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you.
I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.